What's up, champions? Alright, so for this first new era video of this channel, I'm going to be talking about what I am excited for and what you should be excited for with the Halo remake. Now, with this sexy little remake on the horizon, I figured that it was good to talk about something positive for once in this godforsaken community. Almost every video that I've seen covering this topic has just been nitpicks, and people are pissy about the most unimportant stuff. But you know, I think it's important that we actually are happy, at least for a few things. So this is going to be a 99.95% positive video. I will allow myself to be negative about only one thing. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the cutscenes. Now, you can see in this footage here, the cutscenes already look incredible, and people are all like, I don't like that they turned the opening section of Silent Cartographer into a cutscene when, you should be seeing it through Chief's eyes. Nah. I love the fact that they turned it into a cutscene. That opening is boring. Alright, that I find it may be because I am brain rotted by TikTok, but I find it hard to sit through that whenever I'm replaying Halo 1. Now, another thing about the cutscenes being improved is it's going to greatly improve the storytelling of the game. Now, the old cutscenes in Halo 1 were stiff. Characters couldn't really show emotion. You can see in this cutscene from the first mission, Pillar of Autumn, Captain Keyes, he's reading off this thing, he's trying to figure out what to do, but you can't really tell that's what he's doing. He just shuts his eyes and then kind of furrows his brow and then turns around and starts saying stuff. He doesn't have any real emotion showing on his face, and that's not a bad thing. I know that there's a there's a problem with, games from 2001 not having a million polygons like they do now. That's not I'm not criticizing it for that, but this is something that we can be excited for with the new game because, characters can actually emote now. We haven't seen Captain Keyes, we've heard from him, Pete Stack has reprised his role, but we haven't actually seen him. Alright, so as far as we know, he could be a emotionless, stone-faced weirdo, or we could really see him trying to figure out a way out of the predicament that he's in, with this Covenant Armada. I'm sorry if you can hear that jingling in the background. My cat is trying to figure out how to use his harness. And in contrast to this, you don't even need to see Master Chief's face to figure out what's going on here. He's clearing this space like he's been trained to do. You can see that. Then you can see he relaxes, he puts his gun away. He walks over to the chasm because he's curious. He's trying to figure out where he is, what's going on. He wants to see how deep it is. He kicks the light, which I always thought was a grunt mask or something in the original game, but I guess not. But yeah, you can see he kicks the mask because he wants to figure out how deep it is. And then once he realizes there's nothing else to do here, he grabs his gun and walks away. It's these little micro stories that they can tell, with the characters, with just these more refined and better graphics and animations that they couldn't tell back then. And like I said, that's not a bad thing. They were limited, but now we can really get the story of Halo 1 to its full effect. I think very obviously the next thing to be excited for with the Halo remake is the return of the Flood. Now, at the risk of sounding like a certain British Halo YouTuber, I'm going to keep this section kind of short, right? But I do really want to talk about this because we haven't seen the Flood in a mainline Halo game in, nearly... sorry, not nearly, it's been about 19 years. And I know that because I was born the same year Halo 3 came out, and know that little Easter egg in Halo Infinite doesn't count. Now, something that I've seen people on the fence about is adding the pure forms from Halo 3. Now, apparently there's something about the stage of Flood infection that the ring is at that makes it so that pure forms can't exist or something. But hey,
what do I know?
Something else of note that I think is good is we can see here that the fog and that whole eerie atmosphere on 343 Guilty Spark has returned, and that was something that was sorely missing from the anniversary remaster back in 2000 and something, whenever that released. I think it was 2011. I can't remember. That was so bad. Now, time to get into the meat and the potatoes of this video. The number one thing that this isn't the last thing, but the number one thing that I am excited for about this remake is the Sergeant Johnson levels. These are going to be prequel levels to the main game. Apparently they're not going to be set on Reach. They're going to be like entirely new stories that we haven't seen before. And they're going to be like building up Chief and Johnson's relationship leading up to the main game. Now, Sergeant Johnson is such an important part of Chief's story. He's kind of the anchor to the rest of the UNSC that you have throughout like that game. You know, you have Captain Keyes and Commander Keyes. They're like the kind of grounding to the Navy, but Johnson acts as your link to the Marines, and not having him there really led to a disconnect throughout Halo 4, 5, and Infinite in a way, because you just didn't have that connection, that funny guy there that could, you know, represent the Marines. Now, of course, in Halo 4, you had Lasky, and honestly, Lasky is like one of my favorite Halo characters of all time. Maybe that's just because I've watched Forward Unto Dawn, and I have like a little bit of a connection with him through that, but I really liked him in Halo 4, and, you know, partly in Halo 5, even though he's hardly in it, and there aren't any Marines in Halo 5, but, you know, he's still just not Sergeant Johnson. He still doesn't give me what I need to really feel for the Marines, and I just don't end up really caring about the Marines in Halo 5. Sorry, Halo 4. There aren't any Marines in Halo 5. But yeah, in Halo 4, you know, on all the levels where there are Marines, they're just kind of there for me, you know, they aren't actually... It's not like Halo 3 where I'm like, oh, are my Marines okay, you know, or in Halo 2 on Delta Halo where you're like, oh my god, are my ODSTs okay? Johnson acted as that anchor between you and the Marines, because he showed you that the Marines weren't just a bunch of copy and paste guys with different voices, you know. And he was a funny guy. You got to empathize with him through his strange sense of humor.
Then listen up. When I joined the Corps, we didn't have any fancy schmancy tanks. We had sticks, 2 sticks and a rock for a whole platoon, and we had to share the rock. Buck up, boy! You're one very lucky Marine.
And I think a lot of that just comes down to David Scully, the voice actor for Sergeant Johnson. Now, I haven't heard him in anything other than Halo that I know of, but he is an amazing actor, like, for the character that he is playing in Halo. And I don't think that anyone else could do it, which is not great because no one's heard from him in a while. According to Jen Taylor, he just kind of dropped off the face of the earth after ODST, I think. But, you know, I'm sure that if they have had to, you know, give his role to someone else because he's missing in action or whatever, then they will eventually, then this person will settle into the role of Sergeant Johnson, but it just won't be the same. And if that is the case, then I think that we need to be kind of nice to the new actor, because I know that when a character gets recast, people tend to like go after the actor and really like just turn them away, or they will like just straight like start threatening their family, which isn't cool. Can we like not do that, please? Now, the other thing about these Sergeant Johnson missions is they're going to feature a new type of Covenant that we haven't seen before. And apparently they're going to be a lot more religious. They've had like entirely new models created for them. Like they're this new, extremely fanatical version of this Covenant. And I am so excited to fight these guys and see like if they're different in any way, you know, if they fight differently, or if, you know, they're just a reskin of the normal guys. Either way, my voice is cracking a lot, I'm sorry. But either way, this this whole new Covenant idea sounds so cool, because like this is kind of the first time that we're gonna see a new version of the Covenant, not like a new Splinter faction or a new different version or whatever, Banished or Julim Dharma's Shadow Shade Covenant, whatever the hell they called that. This is entirely new and a part of the actual Covenant. Now, I don't know if that means that we're going to be just fighting more Zealots, or if we're going to maybe be able to fight the Prelates for the first time. I know that Hidden Experia will be happy about that. But I'm really excited to see these new designs and what they've come up with for this new ultra-religious, Covenant faction that we've obviously never seen before. I mean, unless, it's been mentioned in a book or something. I don't know about that. Now, someone brought up a good point. I don't remember who it was, but they said that if they had time to make, all these new things, why couldn't they, try to make new things for the base game instead of this, 3-mission DLC prequel kind of thing? Now, Mint Blitz did an interview with an ex-Bungie dev who said that it looked like they weren't pushing Unreal Engine to its limits, like they said they were. But, I mean, I don't want the game to run like shit, so I'd rather if they didn't do that. But he also said that the game looks like a game from 2018, 2019. And if a game from 2018, 2019 looks like this, then we were obviously doing something right back then. Now, I brought that up because he's essentially saying that they aren't putting in, 100% effort. And it's 343, they usually don't put in, 100% effort. You can see that through, the writing, or, a lot of the other stuff from their games, Halo Infinite, 60% cut. But, it's fine, okay? They're remaking a game from 2001 to be playable in a state that it would have been if it released in 2026. This, there's so many different variables that go into this whole spiel that makes this a very tricky topic to talk about, because either way, people are going to get pissed no matter what you say. You could be right, you could be so wrong, and no one would be happy with what you're saying. I know that there are probably going to be people who see this video that are going to want to murder me for what I'm saying. Now, I want to spend this last little bit of time talking about the sandbox editions, mostly the weapons that they're adding. Apparently they're adding 9 new weapons, but we only know about 3 of them, and those 3 are the energy sword, the battle rifle, and the needle rifle. There are speculations to other weapons that they want to add, or people want to be added, like the flamethrower or the fuel rod cannon or stuff like that. Mostly guns that were kind of promised to be in the original Halo, like the fuel rod cannon and the energy sword and the flamethrower, but they weren't really there. I mean, the fuel rod cannon was there, but it exploded after you killed the grunt that was using it. And same thing with the energy sword. A lot of these weapons that they had weren't usable by the player. I'm pretty sure the flamethrower was only added in the PC port of the original Halo CE. Another weapon that people think that they're adding is the Sentinel Beam, which in every other game it absolutely tears through the Flood. So that'll be great to have on missions like the Library and 343 Guilty Spark. Also, apparently they are going to change up the library, or people are speculating that they're going to do that because they said that they were going to change up the flow of some levels, which I think is a good idea. Everyone knows that the library is the worst mission in all of Halo. So that is kind of the end of this list that I have of things to be excited about for the Halo remake. I mean, of course, be excited for the game itself, not just these little things. Something that I think people do now when they hear about a new game coming out is they get wrapped up in all the little details. They don't see the bigger picture that there's a new video game coming out, and this is a video game from a series that people love and have loved for the past 25 years. I know that we've been scorned and hurt and all this for the past 13 years maybe. I can't remember, but I think it's time that we really start to give these games a chance. Like I've said in a past video, I'm so sick and tired of the hate. Just people hating on the games, over and over again. Every game has its flaw, Halo 3's story, as much as I love it, isn't the greatest, alright? It meanders. Halo 2's story, it's great, Arbiter's side of the story, that's an amazing story. Chief's side, not so much. The Halo 1, it doesn't really have a story. Bungie's games had enough good to outweigh that bad. 343's on the other hand, they didn't. They had all this crap going on that was a result of people who just didn't know what they were doing. Halo 4's story was a mess of all this different crap that was brought in by people who just didn't know what they were writing. They had the Didact, who wasn't a human, even though Bungie had pretty much said that they were at that point, and they were like, no, we're not going to do that. And then you had, all the stuff with the Infinity, that was a different little story that they had to shove in there somehow because they had to get Chief off of Requiem. But, then there was this little story with Cortana and Master Chief where they were trying to find a cure for her rampancy. And that was so much better than this shit with the Didact. And, as a kid, Halo 4 was the first video game I ever played. And as a kid, it stuck with me. That little story stuck with me more than anything with the Didact. Halo 5 had a really good multiplayer, but a god-awful, terrible campaign. Halo Infinite had, it was an alright campaign, but so much was cut from it that it just got to the point where there was no point in playing it, and the multiplayer was, we don't talk about that multiplayer. That was something. And I think that a lot of that brings this idea of just criticize the games, and they aren't even out yet. The people are just automatically going to criticize Halo Campaign Evolved because it's not even out yet. And one of the main criticisms I've seen is, why don't they just make a new game? Because you don't want them to make a new game. You've all said so many times that you don't want 343 to be making Halo games. So, they're stuck with the franchise, so they might as well just remake the first game. Alright, you all seem to love Bungie's games so much, so we might as well just, make Bungie's games for you. So instead of being cynical and, immediately discrediting the game because, all the other games that they've put out are shit, I mean, it's a good reason to be cynical, but maybe just be excited instead. Just, be excited for this new thing that's coming out from this IP that we've had almost nothing from, for the past, however long it's been since Halo 4 came out. Was it 14 years? Try to be happy that we're finally getting something. Anyway, that's going to be the end of that whole segment. If I'm just going to be talking about the channel now, so if you don't want to hear that, get on out here. So if you do want to hear about it, then stick around. But what I want to say is thank you for the last video blowing up in the way that it did. Last I checked, it was at 300 views, and that's a lot. That is a lot for me. My most popular videos, what was it? It was one of my Saints Row videos. It also reached over 300 views, and that's a nice little boost to the whole confidence thing, because like I said, those Minecraft videos, they weren't doing too well, but seeing the Halo centric video that I did put out did well, it made me happy. I'm glad that did do well. So I am very excited to put this one out and see if it also does well, or if it is just gonna flop like, you know, the Minecraft videos did. But either way, whatever happens, I will keep posting, I will keep putting videos out, because like I said in that last video, I do want this to turn into a job. You know, I do want this to be something that I love doing. So, you know, once again, thank you guys. It means a lot to me. I am now at 30 subscribers. That is a new milestone. I'm very happy about that. So, you know, thank you. I might end up like a Jacksepticeye doing like a, you know, 100 subscribers announcement video. Like, that'll be really cool if that happens. But so yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. Yeah. Anyway, that's gonna be the end of this video. If you liked it, then, well, like the video, obviously. You should also subscribe. That always is good. That also helps. What else is there? Oh yeah, you know, you should also comment. And if you didn't like the video, well, you know, comment anyway. You know, engagement helps me get out there, helps me reach a new audience, helps me, you know, do what I want to do. So thank you guys, I really do appreciate it. And well, I guess that's it. I will see you all later. Bye bye.